Hey, it's me, MLB. This is chapter 86 of Touched. This one is titled A Scare. After handing the paperwork to the commissioner, you and Hawks headed back out and were walking down the halls to go outside when you saw an inmate being moved from one cell to another. He was being led down the hall towards you and Hawks, his hands shackled and his head down. You didn't pay much attention to the person and just kept looking down at the floor as you continued to walk beside Hawks. Just then the commissioner called out to Hawks from behind you both. "My apologies, Hawks, you forgot to sign the last page," he said as he stood in the hallway. "Ah, damn," Hawks replied as he turned around. "I'll be 2 seconds," he said to you as he walked off. "Stay here." You felt uneasy but nodded as Hawks walked off down towards the office again, watching his back as he disappeared down the hall. Just then you heard the footsteps of the officer and the inmate approach you, and you heard a voice call your name. "Yin?" the male called from ahead of you. "Wait, who is that? How does he know my name? His voice sounds familiar," you thought, with surprise as you swiveled your head around to look at him. Your blood ran cold as you locked eyes with your father. You hadn't seen him in so long, but just hearing his voice was enough to trigger you, and you froze in place, your heart spiking immediately. You clutched Hiyoko to your chest and stepped back against the wall, pressing your back to it. "Yin, baby, my girl, please," your dad begged pitifully. "No," you whispered as your bottom lip began to tremble. "Yin, you've been brainwashed by everyone. I'm the only one who can love and protect you. Please help me so I can help you," your dad begged. "It's not true. It's not true," you said almost inaudibly. "Keep walking," the officer, who was leading your father, said gruffly as he pulled on the chains. Your dad sighed heavily and followed the officer, keeping an eye on you as he came up beside you. At the very last second, your dad yanked on his chains and lunged at you, quickly touching you with his quirk. Suddenly you felt overwhelming guilt. Guilt towards what had happened with your dad, guilt at trying to keep Hiyoko away from him, guilt at this whole situation, and you just froze in place. As the officer turned to control your dad, he dropped his guard, distracted by the sudden jerk on the chains, and your dad took the opportunity to yank himself free of the guard's hand, touching the officer with his quirk in the process. The man screamed and backed away with his hands up, as your dad then grabbed for baby Hiyoko in your arms. "No!" you screamed, tears streaming from your eyes. I'm sorry, but please give him back." "I'll be taking him now," your dad said darkly. "You kept him from me. Shame on you. What kind of daughter are you? Stay here, you worthless child. Don't follow me," he spat, the guilt eating you alive as he turned and started running down the hall with Hiyoko in arms. "No, don't give in. It's his quirk. It's his quirk. Quick, change it. Run, Yin, run. Get Hiyoko back." You touched your arm, activating a different emotion. Forgiveness, you thought, choosing a word to negate the feelings that you felt as you started to give chase down the hallway after your dad, finding it hard to breathe from the stress. "Hiyoko, I need to get Hiyoko back," you wailed internally. "Hawks!" you cried out. "Hawks, help!" Your panicked voice echoed through the hall, and Hawks heard, immediately dropping the pen and running to the door before flicking his wings and taking off, shooting down the hall and around the corner. He caught up to you and immediately read the situation, flying on ahead and grabbing Hiyoko roughly from your dad's arms. Your dad quickly touched the hero with his quirk as Hiyoko was wrenched free, and Hawks suddenly spun mid-air, looking down at Hiyoko with disgust. Your blood ran cold. "No," you whimpered as you slowed your run, worried that Hawks would do something to your baby while under the influence of your dad's quirk. There was a tense pause before Hawks spoke again. "Yin, can you please touch me with a different emotion? This feels really weird," he said darkly. "You can still think independently through my quirk?" your dad asked Hawks with amazement. You quickly ran past your dad and touched Hawks' outstretched hand. Protectiveness, you thought. Hawks arced up, touching down just in front of your dad as you ducked behind him, your man still cradling Hiyoko in the crook of his arm as he reached back with one hand and plucked a blade feather from his wing. "Oh no," you gasped, covering your mouth with fear. "You mess with my boy, you mess with my wife, you mess with me. You've messed so much you're about to meet your maker," Hawk said menacingly as he spun the blade in hand and flicked it back so that he'd be able to do a quick upward stroke and slice your dad open with one swipe. Suddenly a whole team of officers arrived on scene and apprehended your dad, putting him in an anti-quirk handcuff immediately. Hawks handed Hiyoko over to you as he put his blade feather back in, and your little bundle had been completely unfazed by the whole thing and smiled at you as you took him, much to your relief. "I told you I'd pay. I'll get even," your dad growled at Hawks, and your hero went to reply, but you interjected. "Don't talk to him," you said to Hawks sharply. "He's well and truly shown me that he hasn't changed a bit." You gave your dad a sharp stare before spinning and marching towards the exit, Hiyoko in arms. "Come on, Daddy," you called over your shoulder. "We'll be late for Hiyoko's nap." Your dad's jaw dropped and his head swiveled around Hawks to look at you as he realised that the daddy that you were referring to was not him, but Hawks. His shocked gaze then shifted and fell on a very smug-looking Hawks. "Told you your girl would call me daddy one day," your hero said with the most smug voice he could muster as he turned and followed after you, a throaty chuckle emitting from him as he strolled away from your dumbfound father. That night you broke down. The stress of that situation weighed heavily on your shoulders. "I almost lost our baby," you sobbed into Hawks's chest. "I'm so sorry. I'm hopeless and useless and terrible. How could I have been so stupid to let that happen?" "Baby," he purred softly as he held you close and stroked your hair. "I don't blame you one bit. No one is angry at you. You're beating yourself up too much." "No, but I should have been smarter," you cried. "I know him, and I shouldn't have listened to anything he said." "Chicken, he controlled you for how many years of your life? You never actually had counselling over it, so you've come this far on your own," Hawk said gently. "Then I fell straight back into his trap," you grumbled, sniffing heavily. "But then you realised what was going on and you pulled through, again, on your own," Hawk said proudly. "You're strong, Yin. You're amazing, and I love you. Don't ever write yourself off," he added as he turned your face towards his. Tears continued to stream down your cheeks as you looked up into his sharp golden eyes. "Hiyoko's fine. You got yourself out of that quirk haze and all has ended well," Hawk said softly as he wiped your eyes and kissed your lips. "And do you want to know some more good news?" "News of what?" you asked, sitting up slightly. "You know that audit of Miranda's shop, the one Brian told you about?" Hawks asked smugly. "Yeah," you replied dubiously. "Well, she got done for a heap of things and has had to close down her business. Turns out Mr. Fudgepacker was helping her dodge taxes, so he's been done too," Hawk said with a chuckle. "Oh, wow," you said with surprise. "Brian will be so excited to hear that." And there ends chapter 86. Stay tuned for chapter 87.